Disclaimer. The Joe Mobley Show aims to be suitable for all viewers. However, mature topics are discussed. Minors should always obtain a parent's permission before viewing. Families are encouraged to watch together and engage in meaningful follow-up conversations. While the content provided is for informational and entertainment purposes only, it is not intended as professional advice or services. This show does not constitute medical, legal, financial, relationship, or other professional advice. If you require assistance in any of those areas, please consult with a qualified professional. Some viewers might find information, opinions, and terminology used offensive. The Joe Mobley Show is not intended to offend, but rather to inform and entertain. We do not seek to intentionally offend. However, we do scrutinize various events, ideologies, and opinions through a particular worldview. The thoughts, opinions, and beliefs of any host, personality, or guest of the show are solely representative of the individual espousing them and do not represent the Joe Mobley Show or any other individual, organization, company, or group. No one is making you watch or listen. So, there's that.
Welcome back to the Joe Mobley Show, first show of the year. I am still Joe Mobley, your host and the original uncloseted conservative. I've not been in the chair long enough. That's not true. I've been in the chair because this is my home office as well as my studio, but I've not done this long enough that it feels kind of weird. It feels kind of weird to be back in, lights on, staring into this tiny little piece of glass over here. But I can say with full sincerity, no reason to lie to you guys, that I've missed it. I've missed this. I've missed you all. Just hearing your jokes and trash talk in the chat, of course. But also just getting a chit chat with you guys. Let me get some crap off my desk, maybe. All the things. Merry Christmas. I hope your Christmas was wonderful. I hope you unplugged. I hope you took some time to get really to yourself, really to enjoy with family or to relax. I am sure many of you are plagued with the same personality trait that I have, that we're just always doing stuff. I'm always doing stuff, getting into new projects and this sort of thing. So hopefully you guys got to unplug. I've been virtually non-existent on social media for the last, I don't even know how long. But it's been a bit. It's been a good bit. But I'm glad to be back. I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. I hope you had a wonderful New Year. What is it, the 9th? Hopefully, if you have any resolutions, even though Americans and here in the West, we don't really use words like resolve. I resolve to blah. We don't really say such and such stood resolute in their belief. Anyway. It's kind of, our language is just degraded so much. But I digress. If you do have a New Year's resolution, I hope that you're still on that train. I've got to read more this year. I'm in 2 books right now. Actually, this book doesn't count. This is Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess, which is not a great chess book, but not part of my resolution, just nice and fun. I'm playing more chess. I'm JC Mobley on chess.com. If you guys have a chess.com account, I'd love to play with you over there sometime. Actually, that just reminded me that I need to open a couple of tabs. There we go. So if we have any chess players in the chat, then shout out what your favorite opening is. Very interested to know what you guys are rocking with out there. Traditionally, my favorite opens have been the Italian game and the Sicilian defense. But in my career, I was about to say late in my career, I did have a chess career. late in my playing chess, kind of at the peak of my chess playing, the London system was my go-to, and it's so tempting for me to try and dabble with it now, but the reality is I'm no longer the strength of player that can really do the London system. So before we get into the monologue and then the stories, let me see who we have in the building, starting, of course, over on Rumble. On Rumble, we have me and one or two other people. So hello, whoever you are out there. You've not commented. Go ahead and do that. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, share, all of the things. A bunch of people on X, but nobody commenting over there. So YouTube is where it's at. YouTube, you guys, you guys are the faithful here. Let's see. Woody Johnson is in the building. Let's go get the likes up or else. I appreciate that. Mr. Boulay, why have we not had you on the show? Yeah, I think we're on Discord, if I'm not mistaken. If you are not in the Discord, then you are missing out. I am not the fanciest of Discord users. I'm still learning Discord. I'll be honest, I was still like rocking on Reddit. Anyway, we've got a Discord. It is in the chat. It's called something. What is it called? It's in the description. It's called, I don't know what it's called. Let me click on it. I think it's called the Thunderdome, maybe. But the link to it is in the chat down there. Who else is in the building? We've got, Mr. Boulay, man, we got to get you on the show sometime. Probably not a Thursday night because Thursday night is, as you know, Samantha and I rocking out for the regular podcast Thursday nights. Actually, Samantha Jess might not be here, just full disclosure, because she's out in Texas and they're having weather-related difficulties. So if you're here just to see a pretty lady, if you're just here to see Outspoken Samantha, then apologies. It's probably just me today, and shame on you for not coming to engage in the entertainment and the news and the culture and the politics and the philosophy of it all. All right, we got Believe in Yourself in the building. Good evening to you. Good, sir. Oh, I don't see Adam Ant yet. Now, I did remember to publish this episode. I did remember to post this out on the Discord channels and all that jazz. So, Adam, you can't get on me because I did forget I think I had a debate. Was it Tuesday? Was it yesterday? And I say debate. It ended up being mostly awkward. That was hosted over on Sarah's channel, Sarah the Raging Tomato. Definitely make sure you're subscribed to her. The debate's up on my channel as well. And really, the juiciest of the content there was the after show, the open panel that Sarah does. I think she calls it the dumpster fire. That was where it really started to get good. Let's see here. Hope you and your family are feeling well now. We are all healthy. Stealth mode, I don't know what that means. Awesome. Glad you're in the Discord, and let's get you on the show. And we don't have to do a live. We can do a pre-recorded because essentially I used to try and do early morning shows, but essentially I've turned down a lot of guests or a lot of interviews because we couldn't do the 8:30 live slot in the evening. I'm just going to record them. And put them out on the channel or maybe as exclusives on Locals. Speaking of Locals, the after show will be happening probably about 9:45 tonight. The link to that is also below. You don't have to pay. You don't have to do anything like that. You just jump in and join. And it's a lot of fun. All right. I think I am all caught up on comments, except for Samantha's lovely guest. So who do we have over there? We've got Arma 15. Very glad that you are here. Got to make it a point to reread the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers in 2025. Yes, you absolutely should. Those are annual reads for me. And you can tell those are annual reads. These books are very worn and weathered. So I've already started. I'm on page 72. So gotta read the Federalist. I'm not a Stoic. I'm not very into Stoicism. I do kind of ad nauseum read Marcus Aurelius's Federalist Meditations. And the Modern Library. Modern Library is one of my favorite publishers, by the way. But their edition that has this red, it looks like a red raven or something on the cover. It's my absolute favorite. Highly recommend. Here, I guess I'll turn these around. Highly recommend that you guys check out the Federalist Papers. And yeah, the meditations are pretty good. They don't hold a candle to the Bible or to reading Proverbs and Psalms every day, but they are very insightful. Arma 15, thanks for sharing that. Haven't played chess in quite a few decades. Well, get back on that horse. Yeah, let's do this thing. This does not look like Samantha. Mills, I am so sorry. Samantha and I kind of collaborate on some content, and she might not even be here tonight. And if you're just here for her, and she's an outstanding creator, very good creator, just watching her earliest videos and then seeing her new content and just seeing the growth. She's just a hyper engaging creator. So no shade if this isn't the video for you. I get it, man. Which is also why I enjoy doing shows with her, because we are not exactly the same creator. I think we get good counterplay off of each other. I heard it's snowing in DFW. Yes, indeed it is. You're up to carrying the show, Joe. Yes, I am up to carrying the show because I'm a bloviator, and I've done 3-hour podcasts by myself. Check meditations on the list. Mr. Boulay, worn and weathered. Is that is that what she said? I don't know. She says a lot of things. She's always saying stuff. Okay, I'm not proud to say that I have not read the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers are really good. If you're not going to read them, is it this? No, it's Hillsdale College Federalist. If you're not going to read them, then you should. No, what am I looking for? It's one of their online courses. Then you should look at Hillsdale College. Man, I would love to do a collaboration with them. I really would. I've gotten to speak to Dr. Laurie Arn just one time. But so they're here. Can I zoom in on these? Their free courses on their website, hillsdale.edu. Constitution 101, the meaning, it's 12 free lectures, 10.5 hours long. And I mean, this is Dr. Arn and a couple of others. And these are world renowned scholars in American history, in politics, in philosophy and theology. So the fact that they make this available for free is just outstanding. The quality of the production quality is off the charts. I've emailed the university maybe twice because I want to I want to make follow-on content kind of going through or reviewing the Constitution 101 courses and their Federalist course, which I do not see here, but I've not gotten a response. But I'm just about this close to pulling the trigger on it because I feel like if you guys can support me in this thought, I feel like these are all publicly available and they're free. You don't even sign up or anything. You just click on them and watch them. You can create an account just to track your progress through them. But you can watch all these videos as a guest. The rise and fall of the Roman Republic. But where is... I can't find it right this moment, but they have one on the Federalist, and it is just absolutely amazing. I want to go through both. If you're not going to read the Federalist Papers, then go through Hillsdale College. Actually, you should probably do both because their insights are probably better than you'll glean on your own. All right, so let's get into let's get into some stuff. So one of the things that I did over the break, I don't know, I took maybe 2 weeks off of work. I started watching a show, and a friend of mine said that I should watch it. And it was interesting to hear his take because I had seen trailers of the show, and I'm like, when you have been in intelligence, a lot of times you don't like to watch those kinds of shows because they're kind of stupid. That said, like Terminal List, I thought Terminal List was great. I've never been an operator. Yeah, I don't know how realistic it is, but I thought it was great. I really enjoyed Jack Ryan. I know that Jack Ryan is total nonsense because Jack Ryan is the distillation of about 4 or 7, 5 to 7 distinct professionals all distilled into one individual, which is just not realistic. And an analyst is not this ridiculous, whiz on the keyboard and out in the field throwing daggers and defusing bombs. That's there are maybe 2 or 3 organizations within the United States government that have operators kind of like a Jack Ryan. And I won't be we won't be discussing any of that on the show, but you can Google around and see what you can find. I do know at least 2 former members who, they don't create content per se, but they own businesses and talk about their careers broadly. But anyway, the show is Person of Interest, and I had never watched Person of Interest. It's got, what's his name? I think his name is Jim Caviezel. I probably should have researched, right? Because we're doing a show here together now. I'm pretty sure it's Jim Caviezel. Is this guy, and basically he plays a guy named John Reese, Mr. Reese, as his counterpart, Harold, whatever Harold's last name is. I have no idea. I don't remember. And Truth in Lending, I've only seen one season of the show. There might be like 5 or 7. I have no idea. But it's very interesting because in the show, it's kind of this interplay of the NSA's PRISM situation, the mass surveillance, domestic and international, whatever you want to call it. But it's kind of an interesting, many dilemmas posed by that, not just the privacy problems, but in it, this guy here, Harold, he creates a machine that taps into all networks. And this machine taps into every microphone, every camera, every connected data source. This machine is tapped into covertly and monitoring, and it feeds it to a supercomputer. And for the first season, no one knows where the supercomputer is. I did make it to the finale, so I did see. And guys, this show is like 7 or 10 years old, so spoilers, you could spoil it for me because I've only seen the first season. I've seen the first season and like 2 episodes of season 2. But they couldn't find where this machine was. But Harold had this burden on his heart because this machine collected all of this information, which obviously we know that the United States and probably other governments have these capabilities. But it collected all of this information, but it deemed so much of it irrelevant. So it had knowledge that people were going to be attacked or killed or maimed or injured or whatever, criminalized, victimized in some way, but it would deem that this is irrelevant to national security, and it would put it on something called the irrelevant list, and after like 24 hours, it would just kick it out. And that burdened Harold a lot because people were dying and the machine was saying, hey, there's a 99.9% chance that this person is going to off this person at this time, at this place, with this means. And the government put it on its irrelevant list. It didn't have to do with national security. It wasn't terrorism. It wasn't anything like that. And it kind of makes you think like, isn't that interesting? Because that is a bit of a dilemma. If the government supposedly these things are turned off, but say the government still had something like that, or while it was going on. Another funny, interesting point from the show is in the show, the NSA guys and the agency guys and Harold, they all kind of laugh and joke about how PRISM is the lamest of surveillance things that they have. And they talk about how it's an antiquated technology, and they're really, if you're thinking that's amazing, your head would be spinning by the amount of things that are really going on. And to that, I just kind of laugh, because I feel that way when people are talking about weapons. And I'm just like, honestly, if people came out and just told you what was going on and just told you what the capabilities are, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. And then they would get carted off to prison for no reason. I'll tell you that I'll never do that, because I have no desire to aid, foreign adversaries. I have no desire to go to prison and be separated from my wife and family for the rest of my life. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that people do that. But in about an hour, we'll be talking about something else, and you guys will be like, oh, this is kind of counter to what he said before. That's a different story, so different talking points. Anyway, Harold, being burdened by that, he finds this homeless man who is a former Green Beret and a former special activities operative of the CIA named John Reese, which is like 4 or 5 aliases deep. But anyway, his wife has been killed. His wife actually came up on the irrelevant list at a time when they were doing nothing with that information. They were just throwing it in the trash and saying, oh, too bad, so sad. And you can kind of see like these broad visualizations of data and stuff behind him. Anyway, Harold and John, they team up to save the world, but really not. They're just doing Manhattan. They're doing New York City more broadly. They're just doing the 5 boroughs, and like a little tiny bit maybe in Jersey or like the New England type area. But that's all that they can reasonably do. And they pick up some detectives, and they pick up some other, they pick up another agency gal who works on the relevant list. So they send her team after the actual terror threats that come out through this show's version of the prison program. The reason that I spent all of that time talking to you guys, thank you, Believe in Yourself, says it first aired in 2011. Yeah, so it's been like 14 years. So if you can't handle spoilers, then that's too bad. But the reason that I bring this up is because of this clip right here. And, we'll watch it together. It's from season 1, episode 18. And the clip is called Harold on Social Media, Person of Interest 118. Let's take a listen.
Good morning, Mr. Reese.
If you say so.
Any croquillon in there?
If that's a donut, then yes. So, what do we got?
It cracks me up that Mr. Reese's character does this like cool whisper voice, because I've told you guys this for years at this point, because this podcast started in 2020. It's public information that Hollywood, that big media, and the United States government, particularly defense and intelligence apparatus, have a vested interest in controlling or influencing how messaging goes out and how things are perceived, what things look like. So from a production standpoint or director standpoint, it's clear to me, no matter what they say, we know the Pentagon's got the Office of Media Relations that isn't like dealing with Fox and CNN, the one that deals with Hollywood, the one that deals with the production of music videos, series like Jack Ryan, movies like 13 Hours, to make sure that sources and methods and classified procedures, material, even maneuvers when it comes to different ways to approach a tactical problem, I guess. It's clear to anyone who spent 5 minutes in the gov space that these directors, these producers, these Hollywood talents, they have sources. They have someone who is telling them things, very likely not through official channels. But that's a trade craft type of thing. I don't know what manual you'll find it in, but calm speaking, not like, because police will be, get on the ground, shut your effing mouth, everything they're yelling. But, you know, talk to a SEAL, talk to a Green Beret. Very often, you know, so if someone breaks into your home and you spot them, they might have other people with them. And when you set your deliberate ambush, because you're not clearing your house, that's stupid. Do not clear your house by yourself. But when you set that deliberate ambush and they, you know, funnel into it, then you're calling out to them like John is kind of talking. You're like, hey, stay calm. But you're also letting them know, obey my instruction or I'll kill you. So it's just kind of funny just to see this, because it's like, who told them to make his character do this? Because this is a real life type of thing. And then there are so many other things in the show that it's like, I don't think you read that in the fiction book. I don't think you thought of this as a director or producer or production team. I think someone told you. I think someone from the industry told you, an operator, something like that. Very funny to watch.
Nothing much, unfortunately. The machine kicked out a number that has one of the smallest digital footprints I've ever seen.
No photos?
Not everyone in New York has a driver's license, Mr. Reese. First 3 digits of the social suggest that Jordan Hester was born in Georgia.
I'm supposed to recognize him by his accent?
Or her, I can't even verify the gender. Hester's living off the grid. No photos online and nothing on the social networking sites.
Never understood why people put all their information on those sites. Used to make our job a lot easier in the CIA.
Of course, that's why I created them.
You're telling me you invented online social networking, Finch?
The machine needed more information.
This is why I'm showing this. This whole line in the show really kind of blew my mind. I've, you know, I know a lot of things. I had been anti-social media. I got into a huge fight with my college girlfriend because she like made me a Facebook for a birthday present and like added my friends. I was so angry. My birthday, as it appears on the internet, it's not my real birthday. I'm basically like a Ron Swanson figure. I did not want to have a podcast. Doing all of this internet stuff and building these social media profiles and things like that, outside of LinkedIn, I have a LinkedIn, basically because of, and growing this stuff because of the George Floyd and all the COVID nonsense. It was really burdensome to me. I didn't want to do it. And there's still things about it that I hate every single day. But I didn't like social media because I didn't like people knowing stuff about me. I still don't. But I hadn't considered this at all. But hearing it, we got to consider it. I'm going to roll it back just a touch.
You're in the CIA.
Of course, that's why I created them.
You're telling me you invented online social networking, Finch?
The machine needed more information. People's social graph, their associations. The government have been trying to figure it out for years. Turns out most people were happy to volunteer it. Business wound up being quite profitable, too. Unfortunately, Jordan Hester seems to be more cautious than most, but I was able to run a credit check.
According to this, Hester's got 2 of everything. 2 bank accounts, 2 apartments, 2 phone bills.
If I had to guess, which, as you know, I hate doing, I'd say we're looking at a person leading a double life.
Can't cover them both. Time for you to get some fresh air. I'll call Carter, see if our guy or girl has a criminal record.
Is that a good idea? Detective Carter's not exactly your #1 fan right now.
All right. So, and there it immediately wants to go to a chess video.
Oh, I think you like...
Because I've been watching a ton of chess content lately. But I just think that is a super interesting concept. Oh, there are the images. I meant to put these up, but my links are out of order. So anyway, it's the Disorganized Show. Have you considered that? I heard it the one time and I'm like, yep, I'm convinced that's exactly what happened. Have you considered that it was actually the United States government, the defense apparatus, and specifically the intelligence agencies that created the concept of social networking, that created the concept of these sites and apps where we send our information and we talk about how we feel about things. So we're giving like hard and fact-based intelligence. We're also giving psychological information, our own psychological tendencies. We just give all this stuff away for free. But it's like, well, you're giving it to people that you know or people that you like, and now we know, everyone knows it's about the dopamine hits, and everyone's got all of these friends and they're not friends. It's like a popularity contest or some nonsense. But to think that the whole thing started out of a need. As governments get larger, they want more information about everything, about businesses, about citizens, about foreign nationals, about foreign governments, about foreign businesses. Now, peacetime, wartime, whether there are treaties or not, the government is allowed, the defense and the intelligence apparatus is allowed to do overt and covert intelligence gathering things outward facing. We're allowed to look at stuff about Germany and France and Belgium and China and Japan and countries that understand and all of those types of things, and the African countries and South American, Central American countries. We're allowed to do all that. We're allowed to look into those businesses, those foreign nationals, create dossiers or whatever, but you're never really allowed to do it domestically. So you got to think like creative thinking wise, because we know that the government, specifically the United States Navy and probably intelligence agencies as well, had the internet, ARPANET, before the internet was released to the public. And if you don't know, then yes, and that's long. That was declassified before anyone watching was born. ARPANET and these limited connect networks. Well, to know, because Al Gore is going to give it to the rest of us. We're visiting here on Al Gore's internet. To know that the problem statement for big government cronies is, how do we essentially get a widespread domestic surveillance or domestic intelligence program on the citizenry? But we can't really do it covertly because that's illegal, even though they've been caught doing that. But like big time, how can we do it? How can we do it? Al Gore didn't. It was DARPA. Yeah. Everyone knows except for Al Gore that Al Gore did not create the internet. Anyways, if that's the problem statement, how can we get people to tell us who they know, how they know them, what they're doing, where they've been, where they'd like to go, how they're feeling about this or that, how they're these little interpersonal relationship things, because people never fight on the internet, right? Yeah, of course, all of this drama. How can we get at that? And that whole thing, just changing this for visual interest, that whole thing is called a link analysis. How can we see all of the relationships between what seem like otherwise disparate entities? And honestly, as an intelligence problem, that's a tremendous problem set to look at. But for someone to have the idea, what if we offer them something so useful, so fun, kind of in its overt status, its forward-facing, prima facie status, it's so fun and engaging and cool, but it's still overt, it's still above board, but in a kind of a covert way, it answers the mail for us. It gives us all of that intelligence and surveillance that we're looking for, and it's free and it's publicly available. And honestly, it's something that any citizen could do. So you couldn't even get mad at the government for doing it, even though the government is still breathing down Sarah Adams. If you've not seen Sarah Adams interviews, I think she's done 3 or 4 on the Sean Ryan show. Listen to them all. I know they're long, put them on 2 times speed, put them on 1.5 times speed. I was just listening to one a couple hours ago. And we're going to get into a Sean Ryan episode here in a bit. Good night, 8:49. I got to cook. I got to get busy. But yeah, they're all over her, but she's just talking about OSINT. It's open source intelligence. It's all stuff that exists in an unclassified world, in books and newspapers, on the internet. Stuff that you can Google and put together yourself, but the government's still getting mad at her for, I don't know, being too good of an internet sleuth. It's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, so this is a link analysis. No association with Cambridge Intelligence here, but I thought their website did a really good job of breaking this stuff down. But a link analysis is essentially an intelligence tool, and intelligence broadly. I'm not talking about this is like what the agency. No, this is like Salesforce uses this, social media sites. If you own a business, you might use a tool that used one of these data visualizations that we're about to look at. But it's unlock the insight in your connected data with powerful link analysis. Link analysis, sometimes called graph visualization or network visualization, is the process of visually presenting networks of connected entities as nodes and links. It talks about a whole bunch of stuff, but I pulled up their site because they have really cool visuals on how this stuff works. So you can see it's like, it's not just this person, but this person knows these 10 people, and those 10 people each know 6 to 10 people. That makes this network. We're looking at the links between different pieces of information. Now, this type of visualization is usually just used because it looks cool. But you've probably seen some of the more boring ones that look like this, where it's different pieces of light and dark. And you can see, the light blue is soft, but where it's really vividly blue, there are lots of crossovers. And then you can represent the data kind of like this. Now, when you have that thought come into your brain, well, it's so much information, no one could possibly find anything in it. That's not true. You could find it in an instant when you look at a tool like this, because immediately some of the stuff is super light blue, super light yellow. It's transparent, but then you have these bright opaque blocks. And that shows you in the data. That's why data visualization is a whole entire career. It's not what you have, it's how you're able to exploit and manipulate and extrapolate interesting insights and unique and useful insights out of that data. That's what social media does. It's wild. Social media graphs us just like this visualization. The problem is we've all signed up for it. I'm going to go back to that first one and just leave it there. The problem is we've all signed up for this for free. So we can't actually get mad. And honestly, in the 100 and 200 or 1,000 page terms and service, blah, 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 they probably use some language that when you put it together, it really means, oh, hey, we can do this. It's publicly available. Also, you can do this. This is how investigative journalists, this is how James O'Keefe finds information. This is how the young lady that runs TikTok, this is how she does some of her internet sleuthing. She's looking at the links. This is also how you can verify that something is true. And you're building out how likely. Is it more likely than not? Is it extremely likely? Is it very... You can kind of corroborate things by the nodes and how many links between each nodes or links to the same node or the same person, place, capability, time frame, this kind of thing. Well, I tell you, this thought came perfectly clear in my mind when he said the words, in his capacity at the time that he's talking about this, it's in the future of the show, but at the time that he's referring to when he's building the machine, when he's building out these smaller niche technologies, he is an employee of the NSA. Fictional character. I know you guys are listening to the show. We're talking about person of interest. We are not talking about real NSA employees or any of that jazz. We're talking about Harold whatever, who's a fictional character, definitely not based off of anyone who actually exists or actually did any of this stuff. But he's talking about the time that he was an NSA employee, and he sees the need. We need this information. How can we get it? I'm going to come up with this concept of social networking. Now, they're not saying that the United States government built Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, obviously. The United States government is involved in picking winners and losers, is involved in, they're all of these speculative technologies, but this one is going to win. This one called social media. Why? Because we have a vested interest, and we will burn other industries to the ground to see this one rise up. If it was supposed to be maybe graphene mining, or maybe Bitcoin and digital currency was supposed to come earlier, and it was competing with the idea of social networking, the United States government saw to it that social networking is the one that kind of rose to the top, because they needed this ability to scrape these complex link analyses, this complex surveillance, this complex intelligence gathering tool that we volunteer. And it just, watching it and hearing him say it just like made me sick. I'm like, Joe, how did you not know? Of course this is what happened. Of course. Now, obviously, I was in middle school, so yeah, you know that I could not have ever worked on anything like this. But now it's like those twists in the movie The Sixth Sense, you know, oh gosh, she's dead, or The Prestige. Oh man, The Prestige is such a good movie. But when you realize what's going on with Christian Bale, and it's like, oh my goodness, you see everything differently. When I watched this episode, I paused it immediately. I started doing my Googling, and of course I use ChatGPT and other AI tools to search now. I almost said to Google, because you get different results, and you got to look at Brave and DuckDuckGo, and I'm testing out Tusk browser. I might have the creator of Tusk browser on the show here in a little while. I will tell you guys right now off the top, it's not my favorite. I will continue to use it for a little bit. I've got it up on this screen actually right here. But yeah, so definitely interested. Nothing's going to happen with social media. You can't go backwards. You can't put that, back in the box and say, oh, well, we're not going to stop using social media. We're not going to outlaw, and we're not really going to regulate it or change it in any salient ways that will make this problem better. There's no putting this, particular genie back in the bottle, or Pandora in the box, or whatever you want to call it. It's something that exists. I would be careful about how I continue to build up association, or how, if I were you, how I continue to create links and relationships between yourself and others, or technologies, or schools, or places, or aspirations, and those kind of things. It almost makes you, when you look at this from an intelligence perspective, it almost makes it hard to use certain internet tools like LinkedIn. It almost makes it hard to be like, oh wow, someone can really use this to kind of screw around. So I've not been paying a whole lot of attention to the chat, so let's jump in and see what you guys got going on here. Sounds just like real life. Yeah, exactly. I think I remember it triggering my inner nonconformist. That people want big flashing warning signs and a chill down the spine, or a spidey sense. That little thing in your mind and your spirit that says, something's not right about that. That little intuition, that's all you get. And that's amazing. It's amazing that you get that. And, you know, whether you're a believer or not, you are a body, you are a soul, you have a body. Because you have a soul is a spiritual thing. It exists both in the physical and spiritual realm, and it will exist for eternity after all things have passed away. All things except for your soul and God and God's word. Everything else is going to pass away and die. But that's what you get. That little intuition, that little feeling is what you get. So absolutely listen to that. The ultimate surveillance state, art imitating life. Yeah, I mean, when you watch, when you watch Person of Interest, and it's why I've told you guys before, I was in the pipeline to go and do a really cool job at a company called I'm not going to say their name, at a bleeding edge, a cutting edge AI company out in Palo Alto. Was going to have me come out as a security expert to do. And when I say security, I don't mean cyber, because that's what everyone thinks. No, like at regular security, homeland, you know, transnational crime organizations, terror groups, that kind of thing. To have me do some stuff and learning about the technology, their capabilities, and their work with the government and their future vision. It creeped me out. It was very Minority Report. It just learning the little bit that I had learned, I was like, you know what? And having to move to California, there were so many red flags, but it was like, you know, come help us build Minority Report so we can have more art imitating life. He's actually a great actor. I think Jim Caviezel is actually a great actor. I really enjoy the show. And you know what? The intimacy scenes and stuff, the way that they do that on Person of Interest is total class act. There's none. There are no sex scenes. There are no none of these inappropriate lust scenes. They do it like it's the 1960s. It's just like an innuendo. Like they'll say something like, you know, are you gonna come up? And then like the elevator door will close, and then it's the next scene. You don't see stuff like that anymore. So that is very tastefully done. I enjoyed the show for sure. Yeah, it was a good show. He never raises his voice ever. That is true. It's almost a little bit weird. It's almost a little bit weird that Mr. Reese never raises his voice. So Root's my favorite. Yeah, so I'm just kind of getting into who Root is. I guess she becomes a character at the end of the first season and then goes into the second. I'm on like episode 2 of season 2. And Adam Ant, welcome in, my man. Oh man, well, sorry to hear that bad weather's headed your way. If you put some salt down now, it makes the shoveling a lot easier. This is the first year I remembered to put salt down before it actually snowed, and it made clearing our walkways and things way easier. It seems logical given digital technology. Around the time we do a weekly show, and as him and a Russian fellow who became a friend with this new retired communications officer, his father, are high ranking. Well, like any good American, I don't have any long-standing relationships with Russians, to my knowledge. I'm going to watch it again. You should, Mr. Boulay. You should watch it again. Facebook, Google, Twitter, you're the product, obviously something the government should definitely be interested in. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself, Arma. During the Bush era, the Adamant says, during the Bush era, they created the unconstitutional Patriot Act. I need to make this bigger. My old eyes here. Act don't think there were that many out-of-the-box thinkers like that working for the government during that time. Yeah. All of these people, just like, he who shall not be named, all of these people are always contractors. And it's why I'm a contractor. The brightest and best, the most talented of people in the government space, I don't care what it is, Department of State, labor, agriculture, interior, whatever it is, contractors are the ones doing the work, and they are the ones that are well-educated, well-read, well-reasoned, talented, or, yeah. I mean, up into the highest echelon, like the best tier 1 operators are. It's not going to be like a SEAL or a Green Beret. It's gonna be someone who was a SEAL or a Green Beret, but they're going to be a contractor, guaranteed. The best, the brightest, the most innovative. I've used something similar to track down owners of LLCs. I finally did the LLC thing, and it wasn't because of that separate corporate interest, and I didn't think people were coming after me. But there's so much money available to LLCs that is not available to sole proprietorships. So I do have an LLC. It's not just the Joe Mobley Show podcast. It's a little bit more broad than that. And this year I've got to get serious about, I have business plans and all that kind of stuff, but I got to get serious about trying to pursue some of that stuff, because then I can hire people to do stuff and actually grow some of these things and have a marketing budget and all of that jazz. So yeah, but I thought LLC documents were just public facing. I thought you could just look at your state's or your county's Chamber of Commerce or something like that. I have no idea. Not an expert in the space of business at all. How you can screw around property and report folks to. Oh, wow. I did not know that. Successful public-private partnerships. Yeah, absolutely. So I saw that, and I just thought that was super interesting. So I wanted that to be the monologue. Now that we're out of the monologue and into the actual stories, let's talk about this guy. All right. Thoughts about the Zuckerberg thing. So let's listen to just a touch of it, and I
want to talk about something important today.
I'm gonna skip ahead and speed it up a bit in a couple of places because we're not watching 5 minutes of this loser. So here we go. If you haven't heard, Mark Zuckerberg, and I almost called him Zach Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook Meta, they've announced that they are doing away with fact checkers because they've had the revelation that they do more harm than good. But I want to pay attention to a couple of specific things that he says. I think I can drop the cursor in the right spot.
Because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut immigration and gender that are just out of second.
Okay, here we go. So yeah, I wanted to hear the part. We're getting back to our roots, freedom of expression. That's what we were built for. And it's like, you know what? I'm kind of thinking you were built for a huge, massive, legal domestic intelligence probe. That's what I think you were built for. And then instead of the government just let's listen to him before I go on the rant. Anyway, he's saying we're getting back to our roots. I think that's bullcrap. I created all this because I am impassioned about freedom of expression. I think that's bullcrap too. I think you created this because it's an interesting technology. It was something that had never been done. You're interested in making money because you're a capitalist, even though you pretend to be a socialist and always crap on the country and the policies and the system of governance that allowed you to achieve what you achieved. And the only place in the world, in the history of the world, that you could achieve such things. But I digress. Then he gets into this part, which made me laugh out loud the first time that I saw it.
The next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure.
Bro, what? Like we've been shouting this for the rooftops. I don't care what the justification was. And he says, this is a credit where credit's due. This is a masterfully crafted comms plan. Like, this was obviously Mark Zuckerberg did not come up with this. He said, these are my priorities. These are the strategic notes, the strategic priorities that I have in this messaging. And this was crafted by some brilliant spokespeople. Probably like people, there's a certification in this. I think it's crisis communications. This was crafted by the craftiest of brand protection professionals, whatever. There's actually a chick of the show, Person of Interest, who does this kind of reputational damage control work, and her character is pretty funny. I think her name's Zoe or something. But he's saying, hey, this all started, we were freedom of expression. We were free speech absolutist, I'll even say. And then this movement, there was this cultural moment brought to you by activists and the United States government of inclusion and diversity. And to promote inclusion, to promote diversity, we had to stifle and snuff out all opposition, which is, it's not even just authoritarianism. That's pure fascism, which is the point that I had against the guy that did debate. Even though in reality he's probably not a fascist, we found out that we were just teetering on the line of immaturity and lack of impulse control. But saying or having in your mind that you were gonna snuff out thoughts, opinions, and beliefs that you don't like, that you don't believe yourself, that you don't believe should be promulgated, that you're going to snuff them out through force or through threat of force or through exile. That's fascism. That's one of, everyone's talking about, oh, well, it depends on who owns the means of production. And is this socialism? Is this communism? There are different pillars that prop up government, and we did the episode on systems of government where we talked about the dial, and really far right, the dial of government control is turned down to zero government control, kind of where anarchy lives, and far left, all the way left, is the dial of government control is dialed all the way up to 100% government control. A representative republic like we have, a constitutional republic, actually lies somewhere in the middle. It is right of center. Because the government doesn't institute the rights and privileges of the citizen. The people, institute the rights and privileges of the government. The powers, the just powers of good government is given from people to government, not from government to people. So that is a right of center principle, because if the people in theory have more power than the government, then the government's dial is not at 50%, it's 49 or less. In reality, that's bullcrap. Our government control dial is well above 75% government control. Government is lording over the people. Mr. Boulay, what the heck are these Russian characters in here? I can't read that. Did you just get us on a list? Whatever this is, it's Mr. Boulay's opinion. But yeah, you did not need Mark Zuckerberg and all of your big tech dum-dums did not need to promulgate the social movement of diversity and make everything inclusive. The way that your pursuit of including more was to stifle everything, to snuff out everything you didn't like. That doesn't make any sense. It's inherently not inclusive. It's exclusive. All are welcome except for you. Except for who? People who don't believe what I believe, think what I think, and thoughts, opinions, and beliefs, and don't share the same opinions.
That people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that...
Now, this is the interesting one. Absolutely, they're not entertaining getting rid of. They're not entertaining getting rid of these filters that, like YouTube/Google Alphabet. I'm sure that they use AI, and AI is very good at filtering and being triggered because it's a mechanical process. It's a highly efficient and a very advanced mechanical process. It's not a mechanical process. Obviously, it's a technical process. It's a digital process that occurs inside a computer, inside a technology. But I'm saying it's a mechanical process as in, like a mousetrap. It's just a simple design that just works. It does this thing every time. You put the naughty list and the AI goes, and every time it triggers on those words, it triggers on that topic, censors it. Whether that's shadow banning it, whether that's pulling it down, banning it, demonetizing it, all these kind of things. I got to move on from this topic because we got other stuff. Here's where the rubber meets the road for me. No mention at all of an apology for all of the crap that they've put people through in pursuit. He's saying in pursuit of what we thought was a just cause. But there's no mention of the real harm that was done to millions of people, to the tune of millions, if not billions of dollars in loss. We're talking business and revenue. My whole meta situation is permanently demonetized. I have no ability to make any type of income on Instagram, on Facebook, and in any capacity. The fact that the show is just there, just to help people, wake up, to join the movement, to rebuild, revive, restore our dying culture, to hear, to hear something, be exposed to something that you don't normally see. Arma says, "Don't hold your breath for an apology." I've messed up in the past, and I've felt terrible about it, about people who were misled or may have, for things big and small. And when you have the type of character, or if the event is just so massive that even someone of lesser character is just so moved, if it's something that leaves an indelible mark, it tears you up inside. The number one thing that you want to do, if you're like me, a type A personality, I think I'm ENFJ or, no, I'm ENTJ. The number one thing you want to do is fix the problem, but very close after that is you want to apologize. This happened the time that I did misinformation on the show. I had a DM to me on Twitter and texted to me by a close personal friend who's still a close personal friend. But both of these people, these people don't know each other. It was two different sources. And I considered both of them extremely credible. And they just hadn't done their they didn't do their due diligence just like I didn't. So then I had not just posted, but did a whole story, and it turned out to be misinformation. And just that feeling, this was at like the height of the show, just that feeling of just being that type of, what's the word? I don't even know. That type of an issue for so many people. It sucked. Like, I hated it. So my number one thing was like, I need to put systems in place so this doesn't happen again, or have better personal disciplines. But the number one thing after that was on all of my platforms, on my email list. If you're not on my email list, then you should get on it. And on the very next show, and probably the next few pieces of content, because I made standalones back then, just in case someone had missed a piece of content, there was an apology about that incident. We're never going to get that. We're never going to get that from these big tech bros. Never, ever, ever. I don't care that Mark Zuckerberg is making little niceties with Donald Trump and making these little statements. I don't care. You ruin people's lives. I was frustrated. I was minimally impacted by, the demonetizations, and like my YouTube channel got axed and all of my earnings there went away. And partner deals that I had in the works, and because YouTube was my big platform, and all of the metrics and things that I had, for all that stuff to just go away. I've never been successful on Instagram, but Facebook, for all of that stuff to just go away, it was super frustrating. Had it been my livelihood, it would have been devastating. And I know there are a lot of creators, there are restaurateurs, business owners that had situations like that, especially during 2020. And that didn't even have to do with all of the diversity nonsense. That just had to do with the medical tyranny. And then, so first wave was the China virus, the medical tyranny. And then second wave was all of the CRT, SCL, and then the last iteration is DEI, which hopefully we'll see die out in the next, 12 to 18 months. He's not apologizing for it because he's not sorry, and he is waiting with bated breath for his next opportunity to reinstate all of those things. And something will happen, and he'll say, while it's my desire to let everyone think and say and believe whatever they want, as if this bozo or any of those other bozos can stop us from thinking and believing and saying what we want. While it's my desire to have a free and expressive platform, we have a social responsibility to blah, 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 blah. And they'll bring back all of these fact checkers and all of these tyrannical policies and then some. Mark my words, clip this little part and you can set your watch to it. It's probably going to be, what is it, 2025? I think it's going to be by summer 2028 is when the next big wave of nonsense is going to occur. And it could occur sooner. I think we're going to have quite the year of terrorist activity in the United States. Again, go and watch those Sean Ryan episodes. And you know what? That brings us right into our next topic. I gotta skip a bunch. I gotta skip a bunch of this just for time. Oh, I got Tim Pool's show up. What do you guys think about this? Just curious, but Sean Ryan is always plugging the unplugged phone called UpPhone, which is like a privacy-centric phone. It costs $1,000. From what I'm able to see, it can use whichever operating system you want, Android or iOS, which is interesting. But I don't know enough about it. I guess they have an app as well. And it's so funny to me because it looks like both. It looks like an iPhone and an Android, like I together. Anyway, this is just something that I just had up because I was looking at it. All right, so it looks like I closed that link. Did I close it? Yeah, I closed it. Let me play this while I pull up the link that I want. No, I don't need to play this. These deputies, it hurts my brain that they're this stupid. Here, we'll put that article up and just leave it there. Guys, Matt Livelsberger. I want to talk about this story a little bit because, I'm sorry. I got to look at chats. I'm trying to catch up on, I'm trying to be more engaged with the chat while we're doing the show here. 1 like on Rumble. Come on, guys. Let's make sure that we're subscribed and make sure that you like the show over there. All right. Do the same on YouTube as well. But no comments over there. So we'll get back to these comments over here. Don't hold your breath for an apology. Yes, I will not do that. Have my original account completely removed, all comments except the. Yeah, this is the part about, dude, believe in yourself. This is the part that pissed me off, because when your YouTube account gets axed, it's not just like you can't stream, but you use YouTube as a consumer, just as a user of the application. All of your playlist, all of the videos that you've liked. I used it in a work capacity. I had educational playlists that I put people on my teams when I was managing at Accenture and Deloitte and these types of places. Even when I was in the Army, the people that I led, I had playlists of resources and talks and things. If you have any music playlists, anything like that, I used to, have a small trombone studio, and the students, I had all these resources for them at different levels. All of those playlists gone, just completely axed. And we're talking like a decade of work. And there's an idea that to be a successful internet creator, if your business is like internet based, it's not just what you can produce, it's what you can curate. And you need, those are two of the three stools of an internet business. So this was like a decade of curated content of the highest caliber, and it's like all gone, and that still makes me want to scream. So that's a good call out there. Believe in yourself. So just know, if your YouTube gets axed, like you get those hard strikes, it's a good reason to disassociate your personal YouTube account where your playlists live, and your comments and likes. All of that stuff gets wiped. They literally disappear you from the history of YouTube. They erased Joe Mobley, the original account, from the history of YouTube, completely gone as if it never existed. Wild. Just at the push of a button. I mean, it's kind of an enlightening realization. Wow. Like, big tech can scrape you out of the annals of the internet, which is wild. From 2017 onward, nothing but time on my hands. Admitting a mistake only enhances your credibility. Well, thank you, Armor 15. I believe that as well. For crying out loud, he admitted they were censoring at the direction of the federal government. Yeah, I mean, which is unconstitutional. I don't care. They're having these debates. The fact that the federal government requested this, suggested this, it's illegal. 100% they'll do it again as soon as they can before the 2026 midterms. I think that there are going to be some crises during Trump's second term, but I think there are going to be sweeping crises as we get closer to 2030. Why? Well, because the World Economic Forum tells us on their website that they've got plans, they've got a timeline, they've got projects, and they're managing this thing out, and they're going to have to amp it up big time 2028, 2029. I think that we're going to see worse viruses. We're going to see worse weather, worse terror attacks, worse everything. The closer we get to 2030, but also just based on things that I've read, seen, heard, listened to, whatever. I think 2025 is going to be an unprecedentedly high terror year in not just the West, because like Paris is always getting attacked. All these countries that let all these, Arab nations just flood into their countries, they're having terror attacks all the time. But the United States, I think that we are going to get rocked. And a lot of people are saying that this is the first terror attack. Well, again, guys, terrorism means something. It's violence or threat of violence. It's force or threat of force to achieve political or ideological objectives, political change, religious change. That's what that word ideology means. There's no political or faith element to Matt Livelsberger. I'm just going to call him Matt. When I say Matt, I'm talking about the guy who deleted himself, supposedly, in the Cybertruck, which like caught fire and all that jazz outside of the Trump Hotel in Vegas on New Year's Day. People are like, oh, the terror attacks are already starting. What? I just don't know. I just don't know that can be construed as terrorism. Unless, okay, you could construe it as terrorism if you're making this connection. The political change is, yeah, but this is like military records and international courts. I don't know that this is politics. Very clear that Matt wants war crimes that occurred in 2019, allegedly, to be brought to light. And presumably that he either had direct knowledge of or was involved in himself as a Green Beret. And he wants those things to be brought to light. That's a totally reasonable story. And you know what? We might be able to. We might be able to say that if that is the aim for the violence, then yes, it's terrorism. And a total of one person and exactly one vehicle were harmed in this terror attack. And it also seems like as someone who has a deep knowledge of violence and use of force as a United States Green Beret, in my opinion, the best special operators in the history of the world, not the SEALs. Sorry, not sorry. SEALs don't even come close. Known a lot of SEALs, worked with a lot of SEALs. Yeah, no. Green Berets are extremely impressive. They're just cut from a different cloth in the special operator community. Yeah, you can send, I believe that you can send 6 or 10 of those guys and they can topple a small country. Yeah, a platoon of Green Berets could probably topple any country in the world if they just have the time and resources to do it. Anyway, I digress. The Sean Ryan episode, oh my gosh, you guys, I can't stop listening to it. I've listened to it maybe 3 times, and it's an hour long. Of course, I listened to it sped up. The Sean Ryan, do I have it on here? Yeah, here it is. Good golly, Miss Molly. If you've not listened to this freaking episode, it's episode number 155 of the Sean Ryan Show with Sam Shoemate. It's called Cybertruck Bomber Matt Livelsberger's email revealed new evidence. Now, when this all came out, where are those emails? Here we go. Yeah, when this all came out, people were giving him a hard time, and they were saying, oh, we could see the red edit lines, you know, this is a scam and blah, 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 blah. Well, the story goes like this. Matt is sending DMs and emails to everyone. He's trying to get to Pete Hegseth. He's trying to get to Fox News. He's trying to get to Sean Ryan. He's trying to get to the biggest names in the political or media landscape that are honest names that will do something with real damning information. And he's got a timeline, and he's saying it has to be done by this date. So he knew, he said that he was being followed by the FBI. He was being followed by Homeland Security. Well, you know, when your weird ex-girlfriend calls and says that she thinks someone's following her, she's just being a drama queen or an idiot. When you are a battle-hardened Green Beret and you've conducted surveillance and counter-surveillance and you eat and breathe and sleep, violence and the chess of combat, moves and counter moves, and recon and counter surveillance. He knows. He knows. Hey, I'm being watched. I'm being surveilled. He also believed that he was being physically surveilled, but he also believed that he was being digitally surveilled. And he was using burner phones, and he was using encrypted email, and he was using Signal chat, and all of these things. Arma says, can we really trust anything out of the Sean Ryan show? I would say, yeah, I would. I'm curious to hear the rebuttals from things from the Sean Ryan show. I think the show that has the craziest of conspiracy theories, the kind of nonsense people on it, is definitely the Joe Rogan show. Obviously nothing against Joe. Tremendous career, great fighter, commentator. He's a heck of an entertainer. He's a freaking great comedian. But as an internet creator, as a podcaster, the last time I think I heard biggest name in the world, maybe not as big as Mr. Beast for just digital creator. I know he's the biggest podcaster in the world. Okay, his guests are compelling, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's a tool. I don't know if you mean he's a tool like a D-bag, or if he's a tool like a government actor. I don't know anything about the man. The thing that I find most annoying about Sean Ryan and about a lot of people like him is he, in my estimation, he is another, quote, Christian who doesn't really seem... Not to abide by the things in the Bible, because the Bible is a tough book to follow. We all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and I do every day. But he doesn't seem... He seems like he's in a class of Christians that don't read the Bible, don't spend time in prayer, don't proselytize or evangelize the things in this book, and don't uphold it as the truth, as true north, as this is it. So it doesn't seem like... I don't know how to say exactly what I'm trying to say. I've never met this man. I've levied the same grievance against Jordan Peterson, who now I'm hearing is Catholic. For years, he was like mysterious about his beliefs or whatever. And I just wholeheartedly reject that. The reason that this podcast exists is because I was so moved by egregious injustice all around me. And at the time, just a little bit of history. For years of my life, it was domestic human trafficking, for at least 6 years. And I was directly involved, and I was on the task force, and I was having a real impact in it, or you think, but really you're not really having an impact at all. It's kind of like the war on drugs. It's like, despite all of your efforts, nothing has really changed. And that's just so terrible, and it weighs so heavy on your heart, on your spiritual health, on your emotional health, mental health, all these types of things. And then I'm in Maryland, and like abortion is just rampant, and they're, at the time, like COVID's just kicking off. They're having their post-birth abortion conversation, and just the weight of all of this evil and injustice is just very heavy. It's why someone like me speaks out at all. The reason that I say, hey, you need to share your thoughts, opinions, and beliefs is because these things are centered around a worldview. And for me, that worldview is the linchpin, not the linchpin, the whole foundation of it is the good and perfect and just and holy God, the only thing in the universe that is holy, just God. And he holds the universe together. He spun creation into being by the power of his word. that reality is insurmountable the right word? For a real believer in God the Father, the Creator, His Holy Spirit, and His Son Jesus, that reality is so massive. It does leave an indelible mark on you, but it's so impactful that you can't help but share that. You can't help the outpouring of that. It even says is it Hebrews 11, Hebrews 12, therefore we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses that we can't help but speak of the things that we have seen and heard. You can't have a relationship with the living God and keep it to yourself. There's no way. One, it's directly counter to Scripture. It's directly counter to Scripture. Now, thanks for the messages, guys. I will check out Grid after I'm done here. But yeah, it's antithetical to Scripture to keep faith to yourself, to keep the goodness of the Bible, the goodness of the gospel, especially to yourself. The text tells you to do the opposite. But also the insights. Therefore, we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, we can't help but speak the things we have seen and heard. You cannot have a relationship with the good and perfect Creator, the just, the one true God, and not be so moved by that encounter that you would tell people about it. Anyway, that's my chief complaint with Sean Ryan. I think Christians like that do more harm than good. And not that I want to say, hey, keep it to yourself, but you have a responsibility to be informed. You have a responsibility, even if you come to the faith as an adult, especially as a man, to work out your salvation, to voraciously read God's word, God's revelation that he gave to us, which is about him. It's not about us. Yeah, and I know we got jobs and we got this and we got that, but when you have that encounter with the living God, then you realize there's nothing more important than learning more about God and what he'd have you do. And I just don't get that vibe from Sean Ryan, who claims to be a Christian. Yeah, I'll check out the Discord. You doing your local stream after this? I am doing a local stream after this. Yeah, so I gotta wrap this portion on him. So the email is legitimate. Why is the email legitimate? Because the original source hasn't confirmed it, because the original source is supposedly dead. But the United States government, to include the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the Pentagon, have confirmed that this email is real and that it was really sent by Matt Livelsberger. So everyone that was giving Matt and Sam all of this crap on social media, there aren't going to be any apologies, guys. We know this, but there should be, because it was always real. It was always accurate, and internet does what the internet does, which is talk trash. Personal opinion. But anyway, he's reaching out. Matt's reaching out to all these people. He's saying, hey, we've got to get word out about this. These gravitic is what he calls them, machines, these anti-gravity machines. He says, China has had this capability. It's just, they're just a few nations in the world that have this capability, and they've been launching these things, these crafts coming out of the water from submarines. Which one? I had not thought about that, because I was calling BS on the drones, because people kept saying, people in New York kept saying that the drones are going out to sea. Well, the United States owns the air and the sea. We really do. But apparently, I don't know, maybe that power is gone as well. I mean, 10th Fleet's already been pushed out of, is it 10th Fleet? It might be 10th Fleet. Whatever. We've already been pushed out of the South China Sea and all of that stuff. The most powerful military, most powerful navy in the world. But then now I'm kind of thinking, are we? Because we've just completely been punked by China's stupid little navy in very public ways. So, and that's something that Sarah Adams talks about on her first or second appearance on the Sean Ryan show. Yeah, Arma, I'm really interested if you've listened to, well, that begs the question, do they really believe? Yeah, probably not. But hopefully they get that worked out. Arma, I'm really interested if you've listened to Sarah Adams' interviews on Sean Ryan's show. They are very good. She's an extremely talented open source intelligence professional. And yeah, she comes from agency, but now she uses her powers for good in the private sector, doing private intelligence. And just the thought, the governments of the world hate that entrepreneurship just runs in our veins in the capitalistic society of the West. They hate it that we say, you know what? No matter what our skill set is, we could use it in the private sector to include as an intelligence professional, doing this open source or whatever, web scraping, whatever. We can do this privately and earn money and choose our own missions and our own targets and our own this and our own that. I think it's kind of exciting. I think it's an interesting problem for governments and proper intelligence to wade into. All right, so the story is he rents a Cybertruck. He sends all of these emails, says that it's going down on January 1st. He sends all the emails. He rents a Cybertruck. He drives out to Las Vegas. He's trying to get into Mexico. I think some comms had suggested he drives out to Trump Tower. He's got a 50 cal Desert Eagle. Boom, he's gone. And then the car explodes. He's got a VBID, which our FBI and your Department of Injustice, and the FBI need to be explained to what a VBID is because they're idiots apparently. But you all are just happy listeners on the internet. So a VBID is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device, or an IED delivered via a vehicle. Why the FBI wouldn't know that is beyond me, but incompetence reigns supreme. I'm sure the contractors at the Bureau know what a VBID is, and know how to say the acronym VBIED. Goodness gracious. They talk about all this stuff. They talk about his effort to get the message out. They get the message out. They say, hey, good reason to believe that the drones are Chinese and that they have tremendous intelligence gathering capabilities. They can they could deliver all kinds of complex payloads, and they could they could park this thing on top of the White House, and there's nothing the United States government could do about them. They're stealthier and they're faster than any of the technologies that we have. I will tell you guys, I wouldn't be that afraid because Matt Livelsberger does not have all the information on that front. Again, I am not an expert on drones or submarines or any of that. I was in the Dum Army for very good reason. I did not seek to have a career in these deep technologies and all of this sea and air and all that. Just land, just a land guy. But I will tell you, I sleep like a baby at night. I do not believe that there are capabilities, whether they be weapon systems or aircraft, seacraft, landcraft, whatever, that we are not able to disrupt, dismantle, destroy, defeat. That's a personal opinion. You can choose to stress out and lose sleep over that if you would like. I would suggest that you don't. Lose sleep over the terrorists that are in our country, that have been massively trained in camps. And if you know who who Lucas Botkins is with T-Rex arms, these terror groups, if you thought the Taliban was impressive, but like these Al-Qaeda terror groups and their training camps are like the farm. They do some serious tradecraft and urban warfare training, and they're running drills like Lucas is at T-Rex arms. They're running transition drills, shoot, move, and communicate in permissive and non-permissive environments, and with kit or in slim down, civilian gray man attire. And you can go because they have these recruitment videos, you can go and watch the stuff, and it is freaking terrifying. And they've got bomb vests that can defeat all of the countermeasures at the entry ports at the airports and things like that. And they've revealed a bunch of this stuff publicly. And like most organizations, that probably means that they have more advanced capabilities that they don't tell people about. And then, DHS hit back with we have more than body scanners. We have dogs. Well, maybe you should have kept that to yourself, DHS, because then Al-Qaeda came back and said, we've made the adjustments for the dogs, so we can defeat the machines, the dogs, the scanners, all these types of things with our latest and greatest, which means that they can walk into any densely populated place that might have those technologies, like a stadium near you or a government building near you, and do their violence. Which is just wild. So we know that they have trained tens of thousands of terrorists in these Al-Qaeda training camps. But we also know, I'll say we have good reason to believe. The government will say we have good reason to believe. Independent intelligence organizations say we know that 10,000 of these highly trained Al-Qaeda operatives have entered the United States. That's terrifying. 10,000? I'm glad. I mean, I know that they're trained up, but I'm just glad that they're not as capable as United States special operators, because if we sent 10,000 of them anywhere, they would take over. I mean, if they got the handcuffs taken off and they weren't told to throw pillows and stuffed unicorns at the enemy like Obama had them doing. I don't know what we're going to do about that. But going back to Livelsberger, the reason that I put the Jack Ryan and the terminal list kind of references in the show notes and in the promotional materials is because Sean Ryan was an operator, Sam was an operator, and they're in all these text threads. Like Tim Kennedy is like, hey, I had done this little bit of work with Matt. Seemed like a stand-up dude. The team guys are saying, that he was, above board and blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of evidence and a lot of reason to believe that this kind of stunt was not a self-deletion or a terror attack, but instead a countermeasure to make it appear as if he had died, which is funny because if you watch Jack Ryan or watch or read Terminal List, that's exactly the type of thing that these operators do, especially the ones that weren't just team guys, but the ones that were clandestine operators. I'll say that. The ones that did more specific work with specific agencies. You look at the technology in the movie Shooter, where they had the self-deletion rig that you put the pulleys and they pull it to your head. It's just like, he says, what kind of sick bastard would think of this? Well, the agency, that's what kind of sick bastard would think of this, or Mossad or someone like that. So yeah, they're trained in these very specific things, whether we're talking about political assassinations or whether we're talking about staging things that look like accidents. Put on your big girl panties and your big boy panties real quick. These are things that need to get done. And because these are things that need to get done, these are problems that need to be solved in big boy reality called the real world. There are people that need to be trained to do that, and organizations that steward over those types of programs. It has to be that way. It's always been that way. King David probably had some squads that did this type of thing. It's whatever. It's a reality of life. So just deal with it. Great. 10,000. What could possibly go wrong? Honestly, yeah, that weighs heavily on me a little bit, because like even someone like me who's like a protector, like, all right, well, when they're letting in battalions of freaking Taliban, like what's a guy like me supposed to even do? Yeah. Anyways, those who have the privilege to know have a duty to act. Well, that's a good comment. Yeah, and this goes back to the Declaration of Independence. There's an older line, kind of in line with that exact sentiment. Believe in yourself. You're duty bound. I mean, the Declaration says that you're duty bound to throw off, violently or otherwise, a tyrannical government. Yeah, I'll be there on Locals. This topic really grabs me. Okay, I'll be there on Locals too. I am late. I got 4 minutes left, or I got 4 minutes till 10, so I guess I'll just be 15 minutes late. But interesting idea. And these idiots on here, they're like, he learned how to make particular items, they said, using ChatGPT and AI. Or perhaps the Tier 1 United States Army Special Operator, mayhaps he had learned a little bit about explosives and ballistics and terminal ballistics and these kind of things throughout his storied military career. I don't know. I wasn't there, but maybe, just maybe, he learned some of that not in ChatGPT. Just saying. Not the first time Matt Livelsberger has set an explosive. Can we just agree on that? But very interesting to think about. Listen to that interview and then kind of consider all of the things. So, DOD is leaking because they're douchebags. The Pentagon is leaking just purely to be evil. Well, the DNA, they ran the DNA of the dead guy, and it did not match Livelsberger's child. Well, it could just mean that it's not his body. People are like, well, why would you use a Desert Eagle? Oh, well, if a lot of people were going to do that kind of thing, they wouldn't want like a 9mm like most people carry. They'd want the biggest, most surefire way. He used a Cybertruck, which is one of very few vehicles that can drive itself somewhere. And then other benefits of the Cybertruck: it's bulletproof. And if you were to make a car bomb, it would be one of the safest vehicles, because it didn't, like my stupid little Ford would blow into a bajillion pieces and shrapnel would go flying everywhere. So it seems like this whole thing was done to get maximum eyeballs on I do not want to donate to the freaking AP. No thanks. It seems like this whole thing was done to get maximum eyeballs. Where's the picture of, they had a picture of I guess it's on Twitter. But yeah, you can see the Cybertruck burning and blah, 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 blah. There was no property damage. There was no one killed, injured, nothing like that. Just Matt Livelsberger. But yeah, there was the sound of a gunshot and then an explosion. One casualty. This man's DNA does not match the supposed child of Matt Livelsberger. I'm very interested in someone, maybe his wife, maybe the DOJ, even though they're not good for anything. I'm very interested in someone getting his DNA from his home and running that against his child, because I think it would be a match. I think he pulled a terminal list. I think he pulled a Jack Ryan. And I think he is in Mexico or maybe even somewhere further. I think he knew because of the surveillance, because of the FBI and the DHS surveillance, that his window was running out. I think he wanted to get maximum eyeballs, which is why he picked a holiday. He picked New Year's Day. I think he picked, a Cybertruck, an Elon Musk vehicle is also an inflammatory type thing to use, but it's also something that can self-drive to a destination, potentially with an already dead guy in it. That, if you just have a body in a self-driving car and the means to set a gunshot and remotely set a bomb off, all things that any garden variety special operator would know. Now, of course, like a baby seal, like fresh out of training, no. But someone that's seen many deployments on multiple continents and storied career, highly decorated. Yeah, these are things that they know how to do. It's their job. So they just kind of put it to the audience in the end of their episode. Did this guy fake his death? Did this guy fake his death in such a way? And everyone's gone back and checked their emails. Sean Ryan did have emails from him. I bet Pete Hegseth had, and Fox and all these other had emails from him. Did he do all this because now it's known as fact? It's known as fact that this is his email, that this is indeed his email. It's known as fact that these operations in 2019 occurred, that there was a UN investigation that the United States tried to sweep under the rug or get to go away, that is probably going to be coming back around again. It's a fact that these things happen, and it's a fact that he's blown the whistle on them in these emails and in these messages to these different media outlets and personalities. So because of that, it's becoming more likely than not that this is legitimate, that because of that, you have to consider the credibility of other things in the document. But then when you look at the fact that, he chose a vehicle that wasn't going to harm anyone else with a gunshot going off inside and with an explosion, bringing it to Trump Tower, again, probably just how can we be sure that this is covered nationwide? Because initially they were saying, well, was this another attempt? Well, of course not. Trump wasn't even in Vegas at Trump Tower in Vegas, but just the association with the president-elect, the association with Elon Musk via Cybertruck, it was too tasty of a story to not go wall to wall on all of the major media sites. But they still don't want to talk about it. They just want to do the broad spectrum, manifesto, PTSD, marital problems. It looks like his kid wasn't even his. Maybe he had just found out. They want to look at all of that. They don't want to look at, what about these claims? What about these claims? He went through he jumped through tremendous hurdles to get this out. ultimately, had he done this self-deletion, that would have been an attempt to get the message out. Guaranteed. All that to say, I don't think he did. I think he's still alive, just based on some real easy tradecraft. I mean, go get the declassified CIA manual on deception and tradecraft. You can buy it on Amazon. It's completely unclassified, but these are the things that they were doing in the 70s that were very spooky. And how much more so now, and what an operator like Matt Livelsberger, have access to those methods and means, and be an expert in some of those techniques. I think it's very interesting. Guys, that's all I got for you. I am going to be over on Locals just as soon as I can get things changed out here. Link to come on and chat with me will be there as well. Actually, you know what? Let me just drop the link here since we're here. I gotta sneeze. I have the loudest sneezes, so I'm actually kind of proud of myself. That was a small one. All right, here we go. If you want to pop in on Locals, if you want to come on screen on Locals and chit chat, share your thoughts, then there is the link to join. Let's get that on Rumble as well. All right, and who's over here on Twitter? I don't know if you on chess. Whoops, I don't know if you Twitter folks even. How do I do it? I don't know where the comments are over there. Doesn't matter. All right, guys, that is all I got. Thank you for sticking around. Please make sure that you like, you share, you subscribe to the show. Definitely check out the website, thejoemobley.com. That's where you can buy merch that supports the show. You can also you can straight up just donate to the show. There's a link below. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link. And for $5 a month, you can become a paid supporter where you get premium content over on Locals. You get this wonderful exclusive The Joe Mobley Show supporter mug. You can't buy this. You also get a member shirt sent to your door. I will see you guys over there. That is all I got. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. If that was the first prayer you've ever prayed, I hope it won't be the last. Until next time, this is The Joe Mobley Show.